Olijve is a lifelong sailor with a passion for sharing the sea with all people. He has pioneered sailing opportunities for persons with disabilities, striving to bring them a full and unfettered experience of the joy of the sea. America's Freedom Sailor is Jan's latest activity, aimed at bringing this experience to a North American audience.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it works. Great. Good morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm not alone. I'm with Ashley Selman, and together we are the founders of American Freedom Sailor. Also here is Brittany Perez, and Brittany works for the University of New York, the School of Inclusive Design in Buffalo. And they are our partners, and together we try, or they're almost done, to design the first completely accessible, not really accessible, but more inclusive design tall ship in the world. So there is never built an inclusive vessel in the world. Not just a tall ship, there is simply no inclusive vessel built ever. So we're going to introduce inclusive design in shipbuilding. And that is a challenge by itself, because with the US Coast Guard regulations and all that kind of stuff. But we are in the for all business, so they have to get used to that. I start a long time ago, more than 20 years ago, I specialized myself as a tour operator for people with disabilities. And I also joined the European Commission to standardize accessibility throughout of Europe. And now 20 years later, in 2013, finally, there is a statement that inclusive design is not only a human right, but it is also a golden business opportunity. And that makes me very happy. Not that I'm a very good businessman, but the fact that we finally going to treat each other as equal, and that there is no difference between one and the other. And it took only 20 years, but you know, there we go, finally. I start off more than 20 years ago in Holland, and I will tell you what I see, because I see my friend for the London Museum here, who's blind, and I show on the screen two pictures. On the right side is what we call a Dutch clipper ship. And that is a small clipper ship, 110 feet, and it is completely accessible. And it accommodates 18 people, and there are elevators downstairs. And for years and years and years, I brought Americans and Canadians. In fact, my first group was from Toronto. I brought them to Holland, and I traveled with them through Europe, and I sailed with them on the clipper ship. And on the left side, it shows a picture from Jan, 25 years younger, and Linda is from Toronto. And Linda is in a wheelchair, and she has a wetsuit on. Because the very first day she told me, when I picked her up on the airport, I said, okay, we're going to do some sailing, but there is also some water skiing, and there is also some kayaking. And she said, there is no way in hell that I go swimming or on a water ski. I said, okay. And this is almost the last day Linda decided to go on a water ski with me. So that is what it's all about. This is not about me or the boat. It is people gonna overcome their limitations. They don't know what they can do or not, because we tell them all the time, this is what you can do and this is what you can do not. Well, that's baloney, because they can do everything. And I'm going to show you that in my presentation, that they can do exact what we do, only sometimes a little slower or a little different. But the end result is the same. Okay, then to start, because I rented the Dutch boat for years. And after a few years, they told me, you're out of luck because the boat is completely booked for people in Holland. And I'm thinking, wow. And then I decided, okay, then no problem, we're going to build a boat in the United States. But where to go? Where to start? And I started in England, because in Southampton there is an organization called Jubilee Sailing Trust, and they operating the only 2 accessible tall ships in the world. Now think about that. There are 1 billion people in the world with disabilities, and there are only 2 accessible sailing ships. 2. So that's 2 times 40 people a week. So you can imagine these guys are booked for life. But when I entered the office there, they welcomed me with open arms, and we decided immediately we have to form a sort of partnership, because even with 3 boats, 2 accessible and 1 universal design, there is still a big demand. We have still the billion people. So with them behind us, we went to New Orleans, where is the only one of the only schools in the United States for naval architects. And I told him, can you design for me a vessel? It's complete universal design. And they told me, yes, we can design a vessel, but we have no idea what universal design is. And I said, okay. So I rented a car and I drove all the way from New Orleans to Buffalo, New York. And there is my friend Brittany with the professors Steinfeld, because they are experts in universal design, but they have no idea how to build a ship. So that was a little difficult, so I thought a little bit on the left and on the right, and after a couple of months they start understanding the concept and they start working together. And that made me very happy, because then I backed out and I brought in more experts from safety and US Coast Guard and captains of industry. And the result is here, ladies and gentlemen. That's our baby. She's not built yet, because we are going now to the next phase, and that is the most important part. What you see here is the preliminary concept. To come up with the perfect concept, we need another 8 months. And for the coming 8 months, we form a group of people from all kind of professions, because we can do it only one time right. We left the concept of accessibility, because to me accessibility is discrimination. There are 2 doors, one for me and one for a person with a disability. That is discrimination to me. We have to go to the same door. That's our goal. Our goal is to build a ship which is almost every inch accessible or universal design for everybody. In other words, if I can find somebody in a wheelchair who's an engineer and who knows how to operate the engine, he can have the job. On the vessel, everything is as perfect as possible, but again, that is not only depending on our little group, that's also depending on you out there, because I need to know what's out there. I need to know where the newest technology is. Where can I find solar on tall ships? Where can I find wind energy on tall ships? Where can I find waste management on tall ships? So that is one of the main reasons that Ashley and I joined this conference, to meet you and to talk with you and hope that you stay with us, and that one night you wake up and say, oh my God, I have this great idea. This is what you should do on the vessel. So, can I go back with the thing? Oh, yeah. Let me explain a little bit about the boat. The vessel is almost a soccer field, a football field. It's 270 feet long, almost 80 meters, 40 feet wide. It has 15 crew members, and it can accommodate 40 passengers. Or they start as a passenger, but they end up as a crew member. Because this is not a cruise ship where you sit with your cigar and a glass of rum enjoying the ocean. No way, you have to work. And everybody does exact the same. What I am doing is what you are doing. If you cannot see, if you cannot hear, if you're in a wheelchair, you do all the same. And that it makes what we're doing an unbelievable experience. Because Ashley and I'll show you some pictures later, we went on the Lord Nelson, one of the operating ships in the UK. So we know a little bit what we're talking about, and the concept is what we like to bring on board on this vessel. 20 cabins, completely universal design, with a sun deck, where you have to work to raise the sails, to anchor the boat, to steer the boat. On the backside of the boat, there is a platform that can go out, so a platform that's going to reach the water. Because in the backside of the boat is a storage for kayaks, water skiing, and windsurfing, and maybe even scuba diving. And so that's the whole goal. The boat eventually will sail around the world. We start in New Orleans. Why New Orleans? Because we live in New Orleans, and I'm a little crazy, and everybody in New Orleans is also a little crazy. You have to go there to see what I'm talking about. But New Orleans is only the base. We will be docked on the boat. We worked out a deal with the Hilton hotels. But again, we'll go around and around and around in the world. So, how many of you are water sport lovers? Are there any? I see, oh wow, it's great, because I have to talk you in this ship, all of you. Because there is no snow, no mountains, no paths, it's only water, 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 and water, and that's what it is. But you know what? I have what I call a boat concept. My love for people, my love for water, my love for boats, if you combine that, something happens, a little miracle. You bring a person on a boat, not on a ferry for 10 minutes, but on a boat for a couple of days. And in the beginning they talk, and the second day they talk less, and the third day there is silence. And you see people disappearing on the front of the boat, overlooking the oceans for hours. And that's where they turn inside themselves. And that's the moment that I jump in and I talk with them. And that changed lives. People are realized that they can overcome whatever they're into. Most people, there are people born with a disability, and there are people, they became disabled in 1 second, and their lives changed so dramatically, and they live in a black cloud for a long time. But I brought so many people over on the boat. I sailed with them. I showed them the most beautiful museums and stuff in Holland, Belgium, France, and Germany. And on the end of the tour, I always asked them, what was the highlight of your last 14 days? And the standard answer was almost that we've been treated as human beings through you and the other crew. Because that's the ultimate goal. And by doing stuff what they never realized they can do, they have a future. When they leave the boat, they realize, okay, I'm going to make a new start with myself. And that's what it's all about, I guess. 1 minute. You see, we are booked for life for only 337 years. This is our philosophy. Here a little image of what you can expect when you go on the boat. We go all the way up on the top of the mast, and not just me, but no matter what your limitation is, you're going to go all the way to the top. A short video maybe. It's a 1 minute video and I have 1 minute, so I guess that's exact. I show a video now from the Lord Nelson, and it shows some people on board do some activities on the ship. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, again, we cannot do it by ourselves. We need you. Not maybe now, and not just with your wallet, but maybe your next door neighbor is called Buffett or Trump, I don't know. So drop him a little note in the mailboxes and tell them about our project. And please follow us, because again, we need your input. And not only the financial input, we need only $20 million, but we need your creativity and your ideas. Thank you very much for listening.
Do you have any question about this great project?
I know you're looking for money, but what is the time frame to build the boat, ideally for you?
The coming 8 months we will spend with our design team to make the perfect design. In the meantime, we have to find a builder, which I already have in mind, somebody. The boat will most likely build in Florida. And then we need 2 years to build the boat. So our goal is to set sail in 2017.
And you say the boat will sail around the world?
The boat, from which country are you?
I'm from Canada. I'm a journalist.
Then my goal is to bring the boat in your front door. Yeah, we're going to sail around the world. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other question? It's a completely private project, I think. Eh?
Yeah, we are non-profit because we are not in for the money here. But we are non-profit, yeah, we are non-profit, absolutely, yeah. And we look for private capital, and we like to stay out of the government, because the minute the government is involved, you have to go for so many regulations, and it becomes only more complicated, as my neighbor knows as well. So we have to find that one person who write a check of $20 million, and believe me, they're out there, I've seen them, but they are not really committed to the project, but I work my way in slowly. A very big commitment is happened here yesterday. There is a woman here called Danielle Bas, and she's the director of the United Nations. And yesterday she committed herself to the project. So the United Nations will carry our mission, and I can do a presentation next year in New York, where 160 countries come together. So that is a big boost for us, because I need the United Nations to connect all the countries for our mission. Thank you.